Welcome to Mind-Blowing Motive, your daily dose of motivation, inspiration, and practical life strategies. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, something just doesn't seem to work out? Maybe you're giving your best at your job but not getting promoted. Maybe you're trying to build better relationships but ending up misunderstood. Or maybe you're working toward your dreams, yet nothing is falling into place. If you've ever been in that position, you're not alone. Sometimes we keep repeating the same patterns without realizing that we're actually doing something wrong. The truth is, life doesn't punish effort. It punishes wrong direction. You could be walking fast, but if it's the wrong road, speed only takes you farther away from your goal. Many people stay stuck not because they're lazy or incapable, but because they keep doing the wrong things, thinking they're right. And the scariest part? We often don't even notice it until we hit a wall, mentally, emotionally, or financially. This video is not about blaming yourself. It's about waking up. It's about understanding the small mistakes we all make that quietly sabotage our growth, peace, and success. Once you spot them, you can fix them. And when you fix them, your whole life starts changing in ways you never imagined. So, in this episode, we're going to uncover 8 powerful points that reveal the common ways people unknowingly do things wrong in work, relationships, mindset, and daily habits. As you listen, ask yourself, am I doing this too? Because awareness is the first step toward change. Ready to find out? Let's begin. Point 1. Trying hard, without understanding the right way. Many people believe that if they just work harder, everything will eventually fall into place. We grow up hearing phrases like, hard work always pays off, or, if you try enough, you'll succeed. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Hard work without the right direction often leads nowhere. You can run as fast as you want, but if you're running in the wrong direction, every step only takes you further away from your goal. Let's think about it this way. Imagine someone is trying to learn how to swim. They go to the pool every day practicing for hours. But no matter how much time they spend, they never seem to improve. Why? Because they've been using the wrong technique, kicking too hard, moving their arms unevenly, and panicking while breathing. The problem isn't their effort. The problem is the method. Once a coach shows them the correct form, suddenly everything becomes easier. The same energy now brings better results, just because it's guided in the right direction. The same thing happens in real life. Maybe you've been working long hours at your job, thinking that's the way to impress your boss. But you notice others getting promotions while you're stuck in the same position. It might not be because they work harder than you. It could be because they understand what truly matters. They focus on improving communication, taking initiative, and adding value where it counts. They're working smarter, not just harder. Here's another example. Think about a student who studies all night before an exam but still gets poor grades. He blames bad luck or tough questions, but in truth, he never learned how to study effectively. He memorized instead of understanding. He focused on quantity, not quality. If he just learned the right techniques, like breaking down concepts, practicing questions, or teaching others, his results would instantly change. The biggest mistake most people make is believing that effort alone guarantees success. It doesn't. It's not just about how much you do. It's about what you do and why you do it. You could spend years trying to fix your life, but if you're fixing the wrong things, you'll stay stuck. Ask yourself, have you ever been so focused on working hard that you forgot to check whether you're working smart? Have you ever felt tired, frustrated, and busy all the time, yet realized you're not actually moving forward? That's a sign you might be doing something wrong. Not because you're lazy, but because your energy is misplaced. Think of success like planting a tree. If you water it daily but plant it in dry sand, it will never grow, no matter how much you care for it. But if you plant it in fertile soil with proper sunlight and attention, it thrives. The key isn't watering more, it's planting smart. So, what can you do differently? Pause and reflect. Don't keep pushing blindly. Take a step back and ask yourself whether your actions are really leading you where you want to go. Seek guidance. Find mentors, read books, or observe people who've already achieved what you're aiming for. Learn how they did it, not just what they did. Be open to change. Sometimes we get so emotionally attached to our methods that we refuse to accept they're not working. Real progress begins the moment you're humble enough to admit something isn't right. Measure results, not effort. Don't be proud of how much you're doing. Be proud of how effectively you're doing it. Let me ask you something. If your current way of doing things hasn't been giving you the results you want, why keep repeating it? Isn't it time to stop pushing harder and start thinking smarter? Life rewards clarity, not confusion. Once you understand the right way, your energy becomes powerful. Every action starts to create visible progress. You feel lighter, more confident, and finally in control. So remember, it's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. You don't need to burn yourself out chasing success. You just need to find the right path and walk it with purpose. Because the truth is, you can't reach the right destination through the wrong road. Now take a moment and ask yourself honestly, am I working hard or am I working right? Point 2. Ignoring small mistakes because they seem unimportant. One of the biggest reasons people keep doing things wrong without realizing it is because they ignore small mistakes. We often think, it's just a small thing. It doesn't matter. But here's the truth. Small mistakes, when repeated, quietly grow into big problems. What seems harmless today can become a major setback tomorrow. Imagine a ship sailing across the ocean. The captain makes a tiny error in direction, just 1 degree off course. At first, no one notices. The ship still moves smoothly through the water. But as days go by, that 1 degree mistake takes the ship hundreds of miles away from its destination. The same happens in life. Tiny missteps, a bad habit, a wrong assumption, a careless word, can slowly drift us away from success, peace, and happiness. Take a real-life example. Think about someone who's always late, just by 10 minutes. They might say, it's not a big deal, everyone's late sometimes. But over time, that small delay creates a reputation of unreliability. People stop depending on them. Opportunities slip away. They lose trust, not because of one big mistake, but because of many small ones. Or consider your personal health. Maybe you skip breakfast once in a while, sleep late, or eat too much junk food. It feels fine for now. After all, nothing bad happens instantly. But years later, your body begins to show the results of those small choices. Big problems don't appear suddenly. They're built slowly, one small neglect at a time. Why do we ignore small mistakes? Because they don't hurt immediately. Human nature reacts to visible pain, not slow damage. When you touch fire, you pull your hand away instantly. But when you build unhealthy habits or tolerate negativity, it feels safe. Until it's not. Here's something to think about. What small mistake are you currently ignoring? Maybe it's not managing money wisely, saying yes too easily, or wasting too much time on your phone. These things might not ruin your day, but they can ruin your direction. Let's look at another example from relationships. Sometimes we speak harshly to people we love. We think, "It's okay, they know I didn't mean it." But over time, those little words leave emotional scars. A single unkind moment repeated again and again creates emotional distance. The relationship doesn't break in one day. It cracks slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. Success in any area, work, relationships, or personal growth, is built on tiny, consistent improvements. Likewise, failure is built on tiny, consistent neglects. The sooner you catch those little errors, the easier it is to fix them. It's like cleaning your room. If you tidy it up every day, it's easy. But if you wait a month, it becomes overwhelming. Ask yourself, what are the small things I've been ignoring because they don't seem urgent? Are those small things silently taking me off track? One of the smartest things successful people do is pay attention to details. They understand that excellence is not found in big moments but in small, everyday actions. They check their mistakes early, adjust quickly, and never let small problems grow into large ones. Here's a simple mindset shift you can make starting today. Don't underestimate small wrongs. Treat them seriously, because every habit you repeat becomes part of your character. Create awareness. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what did I do right today? What can I improve tomorrow? Fix early. If you sense something isn't right, don't wait for it to explode. Handle it while it's still small. It's much easier that way. Remember, life doesn't collapse overnight. It's a slow process of ignoring what matters. But the beautiful thing is, the same rule works in reverse. Small corrections every day can rebuild anything you've lost. So, next time you're tempted to say, "It's no big deal," pause and think again. Because sometimes, the smallest things are actually the biggest lessons. Now ask yourself, am I ignoring any small mistake that's quietly growing in the background of my life? Point 3. Blaming circumstances instead of taking responsibility. One of the most common ways people keep doing something wrong without realizing it is by blaming circumstances, luck, or other people instead of taking responsibility for their own actions. It's an easy trap to fall into because it protects our ego. When we say things like, "If I had more time," "If my boss understood me," "If people supported me," or "If life was fair," we instantly feel better. We shift the blame away from ourselves. But here's the truth. The moment you blame someone else for your situation, you lose your power to change it. Think about it. If your failure is someone else's fault, then you can't fix it. You'll just wait for them or the situation to change, and most of the time, they won't. Real growth starts the moment you stop pointing fingers and start saying, "Maybe I could have done something differently." That simple mindset shift separates those who stay stuck from those who rise. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine two people lose their jobs on the same day. The first person spends months complaining, blaming the company, the economy, and bad luck. The second person also feels upset but decides to take control. They learn a new skill, build a side hustle, and reach out for new opportunities. A year later, the second person is more successful and confident than before, while the first person is still bitter and waiting for things to improve. What changed? Not the situation, just the attitude. One took responsibility, the other gave it away. Blaming circumstances is like sitting in a car and expecting the road to drive itself. No matter how much you complain about traffic, weather, or other drivers, the only thing that moves the car forward is your hand on the steering wheel. Life works the same way. You can't control everything that happens, but you can control how you respond to it. Here's another example many people can relate to. A student fails an exam and immediately says, "The teacher hates me," or "The questions were unfair." But when you dig deeper, you find out they didn't study regularly, or they relied too much on guessing instead of learning. The moment they stop blaming the teacher and take responsibility, something magical happens. They start improving. Because responsibility opens the door to change, while blame locks it shut. Ask yourself this: when something goes wrong in your life, what's your first reaction? Do you reflect and ask, "What can I learn from this?" Or do you complain and say, "Why does this always happen to me?" The first question leads to progress. The second leads to pain. The truth is, every successful person has gone through unfair situations. Failures, betrayals, losses, or bad luck. But what makes them stand out is that they didn't waste time blaming others. They focused on what they could do. They took ownership. When you take ownership, you stop waiting for miracles and start becoming the miracle yourself. Let's look at an emotional example too. Imagine someone goes through a painful breakup. It's easy to say, "They broke my heart," or "They ruined my peace." But when you take responsibility, you start asking, "What did I allow? What red flags did I ignore? What can I learn to choose better next time?" That's how healing truly begins. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself. It means learning from what happened and choosing to grow instead of staying stuck in pain. One powerful question to keep asking yourself is, what part of this situation can I control? Maybe you can't control people, timing, or luck, but you can always control your actions, your reactions, and your mindset. And when you focus there, you start gaining back your strength. So, if you've been feeling stuck lately, maybe it's not life that's holding you back. Maybe it's your refusal to take full responsibility. The moment you stop blaming and start owning, everything changes. You'll find solutions faster, your confidence will rise, and life will begin to respond differently to you. The most powerful truth is this: life doesn't change when things get easier. It changes when you get stronger. And that strength begins with one decision: to stop blaming and start taking charge. Now take a deep breath and ask yourself, have I been blaming circumstances, or have I been taking responsibility for my direction in life? Point 4. Expecting quick results without consistency. In today's fast-paced world, one of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting success to happen overnight. We want quick results, instant progress, and immediate rewards. We start something with excitement, but the moment results don't appear fast enough, we lose motivation and quit. This pattern silently kills more dreams than failure ever could. The truth is, anything meaningful in life, whether it's personal growth, fitness, relationships, or career success, takes time, patience, and consistency. Without consistency, effort loses its power. Let's think about an example we've all seen. Someone joins the gym in January, full of enthusiasm. They buy new clothes, plan a diet, and promise to change their life. But after 2 weeks, when they don't see visible abs or major weight loss, they get discouraged. It's not working, they say, and stop going. What they don't realize is that change was happening, just not visibly yet. Muscles were building, stamina was improving, metabolism was shifting. But because they couldn't see instant results, they gave up too early. This happens everywhere. Someone starts a YouTube channel, posts videos for 2 months, and when they don't get thousands of views, they quit. Another person starts learning English or a new skill, but when progress feels slow, they stop practicing. Then they look at successful people and think, they're just lucky. But luck had nothing to do with it. It was consistency. Consistency is like compound interest for success. The small, daily actions that seem insignificant at first slowly build momentum. Just like a seed planted in the ground doesn't grow the next day, your goals need time to take root. You can't water the plant for 1 week and expect fruit. But if you water it every day, even when you don't see growth, one day you'll wake up to a tree full of life. Think about a writer who dreams of publishing a book. If they write 300 words a day, it doesn't feel like much. But after a year, that's over 100,000 words. A full novel. The same person could spend that same year waiting for the right time to start and end up with nothing. The difference? Not talent, not opportunity, just consistency. So why do most people give up early? Because our brain loves comfort and quick pleasure. It's easy to get excited at the start of something new, but staying committed when results are invisible, that's where character is built. Real winners understand that slow progress is still progress. Every step counts, even the invisible ones. Let's take another example. Relationships. Many people give up on building deep connections because they expect instant understanding or perfection. But trust and connection take time. You don't become close to someone overnight. You show up, listen, care, and stay consistent. That's how strong relationships are built. Slowly, not suddenly. Ask yourself, how many times have you started something and stopped too soon because results didn't come fast enough? Did you give up on a fitness plan, a side project, or even a personal goal just because it took longer than you expected? Remember, everything worthwhile takes longer than you think, but it's always worth it. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. You don't have to do everything right every day. You just have to keep showing up. Even when you fail, even when you're tired, even when no one notices your effort. That's when true growth happens. Every time you stay consistent, you're training your mind to stay strong under pressure. There's a beautiful quote that says, "The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit." So stop expecting immediate results. Focus on the process, not the outcome. Trust that your daily actions are shaping your future, even if you can't see it yet. So the next time you feel like quitting because progress seems slow, Pause and ask yourself, am I really failing, or am I just being impatient? Because most people don't fail. They just stop too early. Keep watering your dreams. Keep showing up. Keep moving forward. Because one day, when you least expect it, all those small, consistent steps will add up and surprise you with something extraordinary. Now ask yourself, do I truly understand the power of consistency, or am I still expecting quick results without patience? Point 5. Listening to everyone instead of trusting yourself. Another common mistake people make, often without realizing it, is trying to please everyone or listening to too many voices at once. We live in a world filled with opinions. Everyone has something to say about what you should do, how you should live, what job you should take, who you should marry, how you should dress, or even what dreams are realistic. And in the middle of all that noise, most people forget to listen to the one voice that truly matters, their own. Think about how confusing life can become when you try to follow everyone's advice. One person tells you to take risks, another says play safe. Someone says quit your job and chase your dream. Someone else warns you that you'll fail. If you keep trying to make everyone happy, you end up moving in circles. Exhausted, confused, and unsure of who you really are. Let's take an example. Imagine a young artist who loves painting. She feels alive when she creates art. But her friends tell her, art won't pay the bills, and her parents say, be practical, get a real job. So she gives up her passion, studies something she doesn't enjoy, and gets a job that makes her miserable. Years later, she wonders why she feels empty even though she did everything right. The answer is simple. She listened to others instead of trusting her own heart. This doesn't mean that other people's advice is always wrong. Sometimes it's valuable, sometimes it's not. The key is to filter it through your own judgment. Listen, but don't lose yourself in the process. Advice should guide you, not control you. Here's another real example. A man dreams of starting his own small business. But his colleagues laugh and say, you'll fail, the market is too tough. His relatives warn him, don't take the risk, think of your family. He listens to them all and stays in his safe but unfulfilling job. Years later, someone else launches a similar idea and becomes successful. That's when regret hits hardest, not because of failure, but because of never trying. The truth is, when you try to live by other people's opinions, you start living their life, not yours. You lose your natural instincts, your creativity, your courage. You become so focused on what others might think that you forget what you truly think. And that's one of the biggest ways people do something wrong without noticing it. They surrender their voice to the noise around them. Ask yourself honestly, how many decisions in your life were made because you wanted them, and how many were made because you wanted to please others? How many dreams have you buried because someone said, it's too risky, you're not good enough, or it's impossible? The most successful and fulfilled people in the world have one thing in common. They trust their inner voice even when others don't believe in them. Steve Jobs once said, don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. He was right. Because your intuition knows things your mind hasn't figured out yet. Now, this doesn't mean you should ignore everyone completely. It means you should learn to separate advice from authority. Listen to people with experience, but always decide for yourself. Because at the end of the day, No one else has to live your life. You do. Here's something to think about. Imagine you're holding a compass, but instead of following its direction, you keep asking others which way to go. Each person points in a different direction. You walk a few steps east, then west, then north, until you realize you've gone nowhere. That's what happens when you keep listening to everyone but yourself. The world will always have opinions, but only you can feel your own calling. Your dreams are not random. They are whispers of your true potential. If you ignore them because others don't understand, you're not being wise. You're being untrue to yourself. So the next time someone tries to decide your path, smile and thank them. But remember, your destiny isn't a group decision. It's a personal journey. Trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I living my life my way? Or am I letting others decide what's best for me? Point 6. Waiting for the perfect time to start. One of the most subtle but damaging mistakes people make is waiting for the perfect time to start something. We convince ourselves that once the timing is right, once we have enough money, confidence, support, or knowledge, we'll finally take action. But here's the truth. That perfect time never comes. Life will always be busy. There will always be something missing, some uncertainty, or some fear standing in the way. If you keep waiting for everything to be perfect, you'll end up waiting forever. Think about it. How many dreams have died because someone said, "I'll start next month," or "maybe after things settle down"? Time doesn't wait for anyone, and every moment you delay, you lose an opportunity to grow. The reality is, you don't get ready and then start. You start and then get ready. Action builds clarity, not the other way around. Let's take an example. Imagine a man who wants to start his own business. He spends years planning, researching, and waiting for the right opportunity. But because he's afraid of failing, he keeps finding reasons to delay. Meanwhile, another person with less experience starts anyway, learning through mistakes, adjusting along the way, and improving over time. 5 years later, the first man is still getting ready, while the second has built something real. The difference isn't talent or luck, it's courage to begin. Waiting for the perfect time is a form of fear disguised as logic. It feels smart, but in reality, it's procrastination wearing a mask. The longer you wait, the scarier it becomes to start. You begin to doubt yourself, overthink every step, and slowly lose faith in your own ability. Ask yourself, how many times have you delayed something important because the conditions weren't ideal? Maybe you wanted to learn a new skill, start exercising, begin a project, or express your feelings to someone. But you kept saying, "Not now." What if you had started 6 months ago? Where would you be today? Every expert you admire once started as a beginner. Every successful person began when things were uncertain. They didn't wait for the stars to align. They just took the first step. Progress is born from imperfect action, not perfect planning. Think about a seed planted in rough soil. It doesn't wait for perfect sunlight or the right rain. It just starts growing. And once it starts, nature supports it. Life works the same way. Once you begin, things start aligning, opportunities show up, and strength grows from within. But you have to start first. Many people say, "I'll do it when I feel ready." But here's the catch. you'll never feel ready for something big. Growth is uncomfortable. The moment you step out of your comfort zone, fear will whisper, "Wait a little longer." Don't listen, because every minute of waiting costs you a piece of your dream. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is today. So don't wait for motivation. Create it through action. Even small steps count. Reading one page, taking one class, writing one paragraph, saving $1. Those tiny beginnings build unstoppable momentum. So, if you've been waiting for the perfect moment, remember this. There is no perfect time, only your decision to begin. Start messy, start scared, but start anyway. Because once you do, life begins to move with you. Now take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I waiting for the perfect time? Or am I brave enough to start right now, right where I am? Point 7. Ignoring feedback and criticism. One of the most common mistakes people make without realizing it is ignoring feedback or criticism. Many of us react defensively when someone points out a flaw or suggests a better way to do something. We feel hurt, embarrassed, or angry, and we immediately shut down instead of listening. But here's the truth. Constructive feedback is one of the fastest ways to grow. Ignoring it is like closing your eyes while walking on a tricky path. Eventually, you'll stumble. Think about it this way. Imagine a young musician practicing every day. She believes she's improving, but she avoids showing her work to others. No one tells her that her rhythm is off or that her technique could be better. She continues practicing the wrong way, thinking she's making progress. Years later, she realizes that her skills haven't grown as much as she expected, all because she ignored guidance. Now imagine if she had listened carefully and adjusted her approach early on. She would have advanced faster and avoided unnecessary frustration. The same happens in careers. Many people work hard at their jobs but never seek feedback from managers or peers. They assume their way is correct and continue repeating small errors that slowly impact performance and reputation. Constructive criticism is not a threat. It's a mirror that shows what you cannot see yourself. Even in personal life, feedback is vital. Imagine a friend telling you that you often speak harshly or come across as impatient. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but reflecting on that observation can improve your relationships drastically. Ignoring it only lets old habits grow and creates distance between you and the people who matter. Here's a question to ask yourself. When someone points out something I could improve, do I listen and act, or do I get defensive and dismiss it? Your answer reveals whether you're ready to grow or trapped in repeating the same mistakes. Successful people treat feedback like gold. They actively seek it, filter out noise, and apply what is useful. They understand that growth is impossible without an honest look at themselves, and criticism is one of the clearest ways to see where improvement is needed. So, next time someone offers advice, a suggestion, or even criticism, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, is there a lesson here? Can this help me improve? The moment you start valuing feedback instead of fearing it, mistakes become smaller, growth becomes faster, and your path becomes clearer. Remember, ignoring feedback is like closing a door on your own success. Open that door, listen carefully, and let every bit of insight guide you closer to your goals. Now reflect for a moment. Am I open to learning from others, or am I letting pride prevent me from improving? Point 8. overthinking instead of taking action. One of the most common ways people keep doing something wrong without realizing it is overthinking everything instead of taking action. We spend hours, days, or even months analyzing every detail, planning every step, and imagining all possible outcomes. While thinking is important, overthinking can become a trap that stops you from actually moving forward. You convince yourself that you need more information, more preparation, or the perfect plan before you act. But the truth is, action is what creates results, not endless analysis. Imagine someone who wants to start a business. They create a detailed plan, research competitors, calculate budgets, and write long lists of what-ifs. Weeks turn into months, but they haven't launched yet. They're stuck in planning mode because they're afraid of making a mistake. Meanwhile, someone else with less planning but more courage starts small. They learn by doing, adjust as they go, and eventually grow faster than the overthinker ever could. Overthinking, in this case, becomes the enemy of progress. Even in everyday life, overthinking causes problems. A person might rehearse a conversation for hours, worrying about how to say the right thing to a friend or colleague. But when the moment comes, hesitation or fear prevents them from speaking at all. Opportunities slip away, relationships stagnate, and self-confidence decreases. All because of thinking too much instead of acting. Overthinking also creates unnecessary stress. The brain becomes overloaded with possibilities, imagining worst-case scenarios and problems that might never happen. You feel busy, but you're not productive. You feel prepared, but you're not progressing. Real change only happens when thoughts turn into action. Here's a question to reflect on. How many times have I delayed a decision or avoided taking a step because I was overanalyzing? What opportunities did I miss because I waited too long? The solution isn't to stop thinking. It's to balance thinking with doing. Plan enough to have clarity, but don't let planning replace action. Start small, take one step, observe the results, and adjust as you go. Action teaches more than thinking ever can. Even failure becomes a lesson when you act. It's impossible to learn anything if you stay stuck in your head. Think about life like riding a bicycle. You can read books about balance, watch videos on technique, and imagine yourself riding perfectly. But until you actually get on the bike and pedal, you'll never learn how to balance. Action is the key. Remember, overthinking creates an illusion of progress. Doing creates real progress. The moment you take that first step, momentum builds. Clarity comes through experience, not endless contemplation. So ask yourself honestly, am I stuck overthinking, or am I brave enough to act even when things aren't perfect? Action, even imperfect action, is always better than waiting forever in fear. If you're ready to stop repeating the same mistakes, start making smarter choices, and take control of your future, you've come to the right place. Each video combines simple, actionable advice with engaging examples that make learning easy and enjoyable. Subscribe now and join thousands of learners and achievers who are transforming their lives one day at a time. Let's grow together, think smarter, and welcome to Mind-Blowing Motive, your daily dose of motivation, inspiration, and practical life strategies. Live stronger with mind-blowing motive. Your journey to success starts here. Are you ready to take the first step?